history of these players and their own personal histories, will we drift a little bit closer into something more akin to what we tend to get out of ladder? Well, you guys are not going to have to wait much longer to find out, as we're going into Bank for our final matchup of the day here, and a very interesting band to start things out from XSET, as they're going to knock out Knock of all operators.
Definitely an interesting one, but I'd say Knock, she's probably the most applicable to Bank out of all situations when it comes to maps, just because she's able to get such easy access to Bank. Not only through possibly ATMs up front, but also just walking in through the parking garage. It's so easy for an operator like that has the capability to sneak past cameras and things along those lines. And speaking of sneaking, that's going to be probably a highlight of XSET's roam game, as they will remove the Jackal from play. That's going to follow suit with Valkyrie, as actually she's been recently nerfed, folks, if you didn't know. Valkyrie's cameras can no longer go outside, because when you throw them out there, they only last about 10 seconds, and then they simply lose signal. So not really any value coming from them if you do toss them outside any longer, but still with a map like Bank or something like Villa, it's still one of those operators that you'd really like to get rid of.
Anywhere we got a lot of potential prop clutter, especially on the walls and ceilings there, especially for Bank's lobby, the ATMs area, there's a lot of kind of sneaky spots.
The chandeliers,
yeah, you can
the
like
grassy knolls.
You can like chuck the cameras out there, and as long as you're not using them too much, it's probably going to get away with it. So once again, still a safe pick here to ban her out in most situations, specifically on these maps. That's out of the way, though. Let's get into our first round, folks, as we're going to be going to staff and open area to start things out for both teams.
Well, pick phase through, and Hot and Cold's on Blitz, which will more than likely not happen. This will be our first like pretty big bait when it comes to the attacker repick, I'm assuming. But if Hot and sticks it, I mean, hey, we'll have to see. But either way, they're going to be getting droning things out here. XSET, they're going to be headed downstairs. They instead will head for the mid floor and go to staff and open area.
I am going to be kind of curious now. We'll see when the team gets a bit closer to the site. Hot and Cold, I think, just now finding out that they're deployed over here towards open area, but no switch yet. And I do think that this might actually end up being a pretty serious pick from Hot and Cold. Never mind. There we go. That's going to shift it away, as they do need some capability to knock out the utility that's going to be deployed not only on this site, but in the extended positions upstairs in towards stocks as well. So he'll move away from that over onto a Flores instead. And additionally, we'll see Skies also change his operator from the Maverick now over towards the Zero instead here, to be able to add those Argus cams into play and give a little bit of extra intel over to the attacking roster.
Yeah, so many change up for Spacestation gaming inside of that one, as Hot and also drops that Blitz, brings in the Flores instead. So we'll see if he can get any traction with those Rotero drones. It's going to be an extended hold here for XSET, as to be expected on this exact site here for Bank. You really want to hold onto this top floor for as long as humanly possible, and then just drop back down, delay that time from SSG, and try and pick up a few bodies in the process. It's going to be 3 separate XSET members towards the top floor. Spirits here will be inside of the front desk space with a long angle towards top square, bearing down on the square door. SSG, they're stuck to the drones for the time. Just try and see how this setup is currently working itself.
Fault's waiting for his opportunity to go for the swing, but not going to find any aggression coming out from the XSET defense just yet here. So he'll hold back, wait for the drone clearance to come out, and they'll be finding that. Diaz just a little bit off of being able to catch that one, and we are going to see get muted out. It is still going to implode in a few seconds, so he'll have to back away from that one and give up his position inside of J overall to back downstairs onto the first floor in order to still be able to fight later on around it. That's a great lead up from Spirits. There gets the drone. Knew there was going to be a swing shortly afterwards. Catches this rappel on the window too. Not able to immediately catch the head of that player, but as he goes back, I think he does clip a small bullet or two off on the Bosco there. He's holding on the other end of this fight right now. Either way, SSG struggling to clear out specifically Spirits, and at the moment, he'll be wasting a lot of time to continue maintaining this one. A transition wasn't even going for him, but he knocks out Hutton. Finally takes a huge amount of damage, though, and that will force him out of hiding, where folks can finally pick up the exchange.
An insane roam from XSET as Spirits is able to get 2, and the rest of XSET, they're able to just fall off of the top floor. They'll abuse these hatches, especially Yaga, as they'll move down to E2 and simply sit inside of that elevator. If he can occupy this space for an extended period of time, he could get even more frags for the XSET roster, as they more than likely don't know that he's here.
Yaga continuing to patiently wait on the inside of the elevator banks here. A minute remaining here now for SSG to make their play out. Fultz just spam it in here and ends up catching a target. Gomez tries to transition off of that spam, but instead gets caught in the middle of the movement here. Fultz will quickly take care of the Banshee, of course, now that he has free reign over Tellers, and as the cutoff for the main stairs rotate, which could lead to some problems here for Yaga's state of play. He just had a lucky star watching over him, though, as he quickly takes out that drone. I believe he still thinks he would have been revealed, however, so with him shooting it out out. He's going to drop back down in the basement and look for a rotate, but that could potentially end up being a double-edged sword, as remember the overwatch they had on the stairs just a few moments ago. No guarantee they'll still be on that angle, however, as they need to make the transition here into open area still with just 15 seconds to go.
Kino able to play the smoke here, and with 10 seconds remaining, Bosco will begin the plant. Diaz with one, Kino with the other, and Yaga with the flank. He'll be able to take down Bosco, and what a beautiful round from XSET. This is exactly what they were talking about in that video, as SSG aren't going to have any bearing as to how they're going to play this match. So they have to commit a lot to their info game, John, and figure out what exactly this setup is. There's really nothing they can go off of just by knowing the site and being like, okay, well, we know they kind of set up like this around the map. So they're constantly having to deal with these XSET members. Specifically Yaga, time and time again inside of that one. He transitions from the top floor to the middle to the bottom and eventually gets that last kill to seal the deal for XSET and give them their very first round.
The fact that SSG aren't really going to have any tape on XSET is really one factor of this too, because keep in mind the players we have, the caliber of players that have been brought onto this new roster, you can expect very aggressive play and very dynamic aggression on top of that play as well, meaning that SSG are going to have a tough time trying to predict exactly when the members of the XSET roster are going to go for swings, are going to go for picks. They don't necessarily have a great track record to play off of. Again, going back to the point where they haven't played against them yet. So they don't necessarily know what to expect from the full core of this team, and that makes it very hard, especially starting on the attacking side, to make any kind of aggressive move, as they could just as quickly be thwarted by a quick flank being set up by the members of XSET.
Yes, indeed. It's going to have to be something that SSG is worried about throughout the remainder of this offensive side, as XSET, not a single lacking member when it comes to gun power inside of this lineup any longer, so more than likely be able to consistently take it to SSG in that capacity. They're going to continue this roam game here, as Spirits will now align himself with the top elevator space and hold on to that with Vigil for a time.
Things will continue to look good here for XSET as they waste out that first 30 seconds of the round. Not going to see any challenges against them just yet. However, SSG will be able to walk right in to the inside of security for themselves, or servers rather, but this is somewhat by design. You'll notice these soft panels that have been left unreinforced here to the inside, and that's because to some extent XSET will want to play into that. They will want the ability to fire across here, as well as de-reinforce the positions here for the attackers, as they'll try to utilize this, and any reinforcements would really only serve to help them in the long run, which is why Osa is going to end up being such a great pick here for SSG, as they can now reinforce those positions with the shields and make their post plant a lot stronger.
Yeah, we saw this from our bank earlier on today, as it's one of those routine ones that we've begun to see for some of the harder to plant places. Osa's just fantastic for that, as you have two of those Osa shields that you can possibly use to not only set up for the plant, but also as overwatch when it comes to the post plant, making things quite difficult for a lot of the defensive members. See how it goes down now, is still a minute and a half remaining, so not too much for SSG to really do with the remaining amount of time that they have. They can really just burn out a lot of this utility, but XSET, they're starting to collect the kills, and Gomez, he gets two, not only from the goggles of Warden, but also from the Nitro Cell. Yaga adds to the heap as well, as SSG, they're feeling this fire.
SSG, no capability to contest against the backside players either. They have no pressure on elevator or anywhere on the backside of the basement hold now as well. And that's going to cause some serious problems. They don't even have the player power to be able to negate this here. Yeah, we see one pickup from Fultz, but it's immediately countered out with Diaz taking down Rampy. And aside from that, Fultz is now the only one left standing here inside of a 1v4. Doesn't even have case control, as that ended up going down on the hop-in from the window outside. Fultz can't even now leave the small office that he's inside of because there is a toxic babe blocking his path forward. This is nearly unwinnable for Fultz, and he's going to try his best in order to make it out of this tough situation, but more than likely, we are looking at a solid second round on the board for XSET.
Fultz taking his time with this 1vx situation. He'll drop down the hatch into the waiting arms of Kino. We'll end up catching him. Either way, though, for SSG, probably just taking some extended time to figure out exactly what they want to do with this offensive half. It is not working out well for them at the moment. In fact, it's XSET who have simply time and time again been ahead inside of the overall strategy. We see it here on this defensive end with the Warden play coming through. A huge boon for them inside of that situation where the smokes usually end up blocking off a lot of the sight lines and making it a very difficult gunfight for that Red Hall player. He can just see clean through it, as well as dedicate his nitros out of the situation to find an easy 2K and just make the rest of the round so palatable for XSET.
And once again, SSG struggling in these departments, despite the fact that they still have the benefit of attacker repick here. Already seeing one slight adjustment for this round, by the way, as Sky's moved from a Maverick over onto a Hibana. Just a stylistic change more than anything there. But away from that, you can tell once again, SSG using their drones, getting all this intel in the early round. They know exactly what the setup looks like, even having the ability now to change their operators to better suit the clear. Still, not even able to set up the most basic of clears against XSET, as they haven't even gotten close to the site just yet. And we are going to see one additional switch come in there for Houghton as well, as they'll bring the Thatcher into the fold.
Have they finally done it, John? Have they finally balanced the game to where we get to see Thatcher more often than not inside of a stage?
It's been looking good today.
It's been looking real good. We've actually seen the guy played. He's not just locked in prison. You know, I feel like there for a while that he was just practically in solitary. Like, there was nothing really he could do to get out either. They took away his destruction of utility on the defensive end, made it to where only disabled. That didn't really do too much to the overarching story of his bans. It was just such a long road, but maybe we're finally here this year. We'll have to see, just because of this attacker repick. Maybe some people want to take away some other pieces to the overall puzzle. But for SSG, I'm going to be starting things off in a pretty traditional sense when it comes to Bank. We're right outside of the square balcony with drones working its way in towards stock. I'm sure that you guys have done this yourself time and time again.
Spirit's taking off a big chunk of the defensive pressure here, though, by holding not only the square push from down the hallway, but also this eventual play into stocks, of course, where you can see Rampy, Skies, and at least one other member of SSG trying to deal with the utility support thrown in here. A double pellet of the X-Kairos here to open up a POV against Spirits, hopefully. Should be able to pull off the job, and they're going to do one more as well. You can already see the cross doing its work as Spirits tries to peek out for a moment, but quickly corrects his mistake as he has to go back to the top of main stairs, now having to be a little bit cautious of potential skylight pressure as well. But the good news is that's fairly rare to see, especially from SSG with their current positions. I say that, but got a couple players roaming around here, so still could get tripped up by that, but it doesn't look like it's going to eventually end up happening, as SSG are more focused on getting themselves into the site here, given that half the round has already been wasted away.
Yes, indeed. XSET sitting on their hands as of right now. Not really much to do. Gomez getting a little active inside of Janitor, but he doesn't want to swing this door either. He just wants to let SSG make the mistake, and want to see if that actually comes to fruition. As this timer continues to dwindle, SSG, they just seem very, very patient with their current motives. Foltz will get things going here on the north side. Finally, we'll have a breach. It'll come in from the east, still occupying that square space as Skies will finally start us off here for round 3, as Spirits will go down at about 51 seconds.
Spirits finally being eliminated, but this is the player they expected to go down earlier on. Remember, he had that aggressive position, but Skies continues to excel. Now finding Kino as well. Finally, SSG getting their feet on the ground with these entries and looking to carry it forward. Yaga and Gomez both nearly getting caught. Gomez will be finished off, and Yaga still stays incredibly low, so suddenly this round has been turned on its heels, and SSG has full control as they swing into pretty much everywhere but Janitor, where the last two members of XSET are looking to make their own final stand here. Not going to be very secure positions either, as additional pressure is coming up from the curved hallway. The nade rolls in. Yaga does stop the initial plan attempt. Rampy trades it back out onto him, however, and that just leaves DS alive here, but with only 10 seconds to waste. If he can stop this plan, he might very well clutch out the round, but no, it won't happen. Foltz instead gets the final kill, and finally SSG are on the board.
Very well done from SSG. I mean, that round felt like it was just so very grueling, but you had to feel for XSET inside of that one, because SSG, they weren't giving them any rope at all. I mean, if anything, it was more damning to themselves as they continue to try and move around the site and find these different avenues of attack towards the offensive side, but it just starts giving kills over to SSG because XSET gets so restless, and that's exactly what SSG were looking to abuse inside of that. And now SSG have found their mark inside of round 3. Will we see the same strategy here for round 4?
Certainly going to have to wait and find out now, as XSET's kind of sit back and wait strategy has finally failed them for the first time in this game. Third of them has worked out fairly well for the previous 2 rounds, but now we need to start seeing them get a little bit more active, a little bit more aggressive with the ways that they try to fend off SSG and keep them out of these zones of control to try and waste out the majority of the 3-minute timer, which is going to be starting in a few seconds here. Once again, a large number of changes coming in for the SSG lineup as well. We're going to see 2 of their hard breachers switch. One will go off hard breach entirely, and another will just switch to a different one as Bosco instead brings the ace into the fold. This guy's going to add those truck stingers here into the play as well. And Rampy, once again, will also bring the Finka into play.
Wouldn't you know, Lycan to be the person coaching the team that has the most active attacker repick? So very strange. I would have never have guessed that ever. No, for SSG, this has been honestly fantastic so far, seeing them trying to abuse this as much as humanly possible on this offensive side, especially for this round. As you said, 3 change-ups for Bosco Skies and Rampy. And not only that, but we're also starting to see some unique operators as well, John. This is the second time that we've seen Ash today, as well as we have Gridlock back in the mix.
I like how your first go-to point about a unique operator was Ash.
Well, I mean, we barely see her anymore.
Yeah, fair
and
enough.
Also, like, I'm the biggest Ash crutch of all time, so...
Here comes the play, though, as we are going to see SSG force the issue towards the inside of open area. It'll work out quite well. That is, of course, until we see the Toxic Babe go in. But Bosco, at the risk of his own life, and now 2 trades against them, is going to stick it. It'll get the diffuser down on the ground. But what kind of post plan is SSG going to have with 2 players immediately getting knocked out, and a third now being found from Gomez? Skies, great read. He's able to counter out the rotate from Spirit's back up, but he's got a lot more work than this to do. Kino swings out with some assistance from his other teammate there. They're able to shut down the first. Skies stops the second. He's actually got a very winnable post-plant position here, but he's at such low HP. He's got to do this so passively. No one from XSET jumping on the counter just yet, and finally he's going to be caught here as Diaz supports the counter, and that's going to allow for XSET to negotiate a 3rd round.
It's going to be a pretty close one there, but I'll be honest, it just feels like SSG did not play out that post plant correctly. A little bit of an oversight there from the Ash. I'm really surprised that Skies just didn't have him hold his cross there for the bottom of square and just play for the case control instead. But, I mean, we have Ash with an overswing and death. That's really it at the end of the day. So many kills going towards XSET's squad that it was almost impossible for SSG at the end of the day unless they played it out perfectly inside of that situation, which obviously did not happen.
So for XSET, things continue to excel and things continue to rotate, obviously, as they're constantly locking down these sites on the defensive side. Back into the basement where they're going to look to control things one more time before they close out this half, with one additional round after this, of course, still to come. Meanwhile, for SSG, things are remaining the same as we're going to see a Twitch come in now for hot and cold here, more than likely to get some better intel, as well as potentially delete some of that pesky utility on the inside of security and CCTV.
You're lying to yourself. Just say it right now. It's the gun.
Well, yeah, that's part of it, too. Just kind of, well, we're not even actually going to see that as it'll get repicked anyway. Hot and cold, realizing there's not going to be a lot of use for either the F2 or the utility that comes with her. Instead, a Lion is brought back out. Keep in mind, of course, once again, actually, no, never mind. We don't have Nomad Band. That was our previous map. So we're going to see, once again, just a Lion brought in for the anti-roam.
I don't think we had Nomad Band in the last map either, because that was the Oxygen game.
I feel like I remember one game. I'm like phantom remembering like a Nomad Band or something. Then. But either way, let's carry on.
It was a dream last night. You poor man. You've been actually casting for 12 hours. Anyways, now for SSG, they're going to be switching things off of the Twitch over to the Lion, which is a great pick. Mostly because I don't think Twitch's utility would get a lot of traction in this situation, but you can kind of say the same thing about Lion because Spirits is on Vigil, so he can just sneak right around these EE1Ds.
It's not even only that either, but it's like the roams we've been seeing from XSET haven't been like super active roams like this. That's going to be a nice catch though. Multiple players getting involved in that as you see Rampy trying to assist with that as well. Nicely done as he's going to be able to get the final blow on that one with some assistance on the rappel. First member of XSET down, no response to be seen against SSG just yet. Yogg, of course, definitely seeing that drone rip its way past him, but not immediately responding to it. I think he was expecting an immediate reswing. Doesn't end up happening, so he'll move a few seconds later here and retreat down to the basement as they can't risk the loss of another player here, potentially leaving the remaining ones at a 3v5.
Well, slow and steady wins the race now for SSG as they've gotten the man advantage but are looking to deal more damage to the XSET roster as well. Gomez will be holding down the teller's door and full to deliver the killing blow to him. Now a 5-3 advantage in favor of SSG. They've gotten a decent amount of control on this mid floor here as well, so it's gotten even more difficult for XSET to try and stem this offense away from the actual site as all of these hatches begin to open and SSG have plenty of time to get more insight in the actual site setup.
SSG certainly making great work off of the momentum when they are able to actually control things inside of the earlier round. Here in this round's becoming another excellent example of that. But so far, aside from this round, we've only seen one other round like it. So once again, not necessarily an immediate path to success being found here from SSG. And a 3v5 with all players down in the basement. As long as they can waste enough of the remaining time back, this is certainly winnable for the XSET roster here. It's looking like the majority of SSG, not too much surprise here, is going to push their way in from the server side. I am curious to see if they're going to try to put any additional presence on the back end of this one, but away from that, they don't necessarily need to focus too much on that because they have the numbers so low already. And it's just a process right now for SSG. They're just checking off the list one by one. Diaz quickly being overwhelmed inside of his red hole hold as well. He knows he doesn't really have much capability to fight here. Tries to counter out the defuse plant, but it's not going to end up working out. He goes down, and it's a flawless round for the SSG roster.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Just Rampy might be one of the funniest humans ever. I'm just saying, because he goes for the fist bump, and then right after he gets the fist bump, he's like high five. Like what? What are you doing, man? But SSG with a flawless round, and that's right there. That is what we expect out of Spacestation Gaming. I think the big thing right now is that, again, no one has any tape on XSET, so it's one of these things where they're walking into an alien situation. You have no idea what's going on in the, opposing squad. You're just simply going into the woods and trying to figure it out along the way. And honestly, I'll say Spacestation has done a pretty bang-up job of it thus far, especially with the, the looks that XSET have given to Spacestation. These are not simplistic setups. This is a lot of extended holds. This is a lot of cutoffs that SSG have to establish. And not only that, but a lot of synergy and team play necessary in order to clear out a lot of these areas.
So the problem that XSET now needs to be kind of aware of here, since we have started to see some consistency come out of the board for SSG, is XSET slowly kind of losing that mystery about themselves. Is SSG getting a better idea about what the general round-to-round setup is going to look like? And does that mean that XSET really has to rely more on the core strategies rather than just wild aggression, the kind of unknown element, in order to get them over the edge and win these rounds? That's going to become a problem for them as they get deeper and deeper into the stage, and they'll lose that advantage they were talking about before where, okay, no one has tape on us. That's going to change very, very quickly, of course.
Yeah, the big thing is you have to keep the strategical ball rolling. You need to be changing things up and not let these teams get a bead on you, especially for a team like XSET when you're so fresh and brand new, and everyone is sitting here right now, I can almost guarantee you, analyst-wise, and taking notes on this squad for future endeavors. XSET with a massive opening. They'll take down Rampy and Fultz.
Spirits as well, acting basically as just the distraction there to allow another teammate to lurk up through the top of the square steps and be the one to knock out one of the two players there, and certainly distracted so that we can see Spirits make his push to confirm a second. Now, of course, trade is found. Spirits is going to be caught trying to move away from the second floor hold and transitioning himself back into the basement, but still an advantage to XSET here as they hold a 4v3. And not only that, but Yaga still has some presence back on the first floor as he's waiting back inside of one of the elevators, who should have a safe path of retreat through the hatch nearby.
Yeah, XSET are not worried about this in the slightest. An easy drop here for Yog, and for SSG, all of the hatches are mostly open. They just need to make sure that this area is clear. And, well, Diaz currently occupying open area could be a problem. What? Hutton! That was not the play! Diaz reads him like a book. Oh, that was a bedtime story if I've ever seen one. And XSET, they pull ahead yet again here. It's 4-2. And possibly a 4-2 scoreline ahead of us as well.
Bosco and Sky stunned suddenly as they lose their lion here. One final EE1D went out just as we saw him get his head chopped off there. So unfortunate for the SSG roster, as now XSET has two players here for every one that SSG has. They haven't even made the transition into the basement yet, so XSET still has free reign over the entirety of the bottom floor, although of course they have kind of given up control over server. That's a bit of an unnecessary risk to move their players inside of that. SSG now scrambling to try and make that transition themselves, work their way into the site. Skies is hoping to find something on a top-down angle here, but it does not look like much is going to be visible to him based on the silhouettes from downstairs here. 40 seconds left, so a fairly decent amount of time given the circumstances, but they need to try and bait out this utility. 2 nitros still available here for both Gomez and Diaz. That's a lot they have to try and bait out with only 30 seconds left, and that's not counting for any actual swings or maybe upstairs rotates we could see these players go for. And another factor danger here too. The toxic babes continuing to flood in. Bosco has to force his way past that. This is a good start though. They've evened it back out or come very close to doing so with Skies' pick. Now it's been evened out with Bosco confirming onto Gomez. 10 seconds left. Skies gets number 3. What's this comeback right now from SSG? Diaz, tries to hop up, but it won't work. SSG comes back inside of the 2v4 scenario and clutches it out for themselves.
That was incredible from Spacestation Gaming. What a round from them. Hot and cold, taken out in such a dynamic fashion. And then Boss Goat and Skies slap XSET off of the site. Diaz trying to make the play at the last moment, but Bosco clutch in the situation. Not only for that, but the fake earlier that baits the Warden into an improper angle and secures that kill as well. Insane 2 versus 4 for the SSG squad.
Beautiful play from SSG, and it's certainly evened things up now as we are in a dead heat going into the second half. Both teams with 3 rounds. SSG now jumping on to the defensive side. We'll get our first true test of XSET's team-making capabilities. There's going to be a lot to clear out, just as much as XSET was throwing as SSG in the previous half. So let's see if they can handle this now on their own attacking side. And more importantly, if we'll get any repicks. We are going to see a Nomad brought in here as they'll change Gomez for the Yana over towards that. Finka will be removed, and instead a Sledge will be brought in. And finally, one of the 2 hard breachers is going to be knocked out as Diaz will swap over towards an Osa for additional utility.
It shouldn't be too big of a deal here for XSET. This is the beauty of that attacker repick once again. So they've recognized that SSG are going for more of a roam strat, so they know that a lot of these hatchels more than likely will be open. So we'll have to see exactly what could possibly be the avenue that Hot and Cold gets back. I saw that the open area hatch was reinforced. Janitor's also reinforced, so they might have small office open or something like that. Yeah, it's going to be the small office space with Fultz playing inside of Archives and Rotates. Now for XSET, they will begin their very first clear of Bank, having to deal with Hot and Cold on this top floor.
Hot and Cold waiting it out patiently here now for XSET to try and attempt the clear. Early days inside of this round, so it will be quite a few seconds before we see XSET encroach upon the territory of SSG, but it will happen sooner rather than later here, as once again SSG bringing a very, very similar fought to the table that we saw from XSET back inside of the first half of this very same site hold. Rampy holding the exterior hallways, the Janitor rotate, as well as the potential stocks hop in, and then deeper towards the inside, closer to Banana, that's where you've got Hot and Cold looking to fend off the repels and any additional aggression that might come from the front lobby here. It's a 2-tiered system, and as you can see, it's very, very powerful if intel is being supplied properly to those 2 players. Gomez nearly getting his head cut off as he tries to rotate into it, but both Rampy and Hot are going to end up attempting to give up those positions, but as you just saw, Kino, a good rotation from him, catches the rotate from Hot and down through the skylight and knocks him out.
You don't have to worry about those angles as much anymore on Bank, but you still have to worry about the one side of the stairwell. That was the big change-up, was what they did to the skylights and the angles that they took away, but that main staircase still has some high traffic for the offense to look into, and that's how Hot and Cold falters. But luckily enough, they've already wasted quite a bit of time. Minute and 15 seconds remain for XSET to actually traverse down to the basement and get a plant down. Yaga now working on the verticality as he will begin opening up a lot of different avenues on this top floor to see into the remainder of SSG's setup on this second level.
Just a minute to go here for XSET.
Oh, Rampy.
Yes, they found the opener, but yeah, indeed, Rampy, how are you still up here?
How did he get here?
So much control. There's no way that XSET are aware of this as well. First one's for free. Second
my God!
Yaga spins it on its head and knocks out Rampy, saves the day for XSET. A big distraction for a moment, but they've got to focus up here. Still, the time is low. They haven't moved into the basement just yet, and now they've got to be aware of anyone else that might have snuck up the main stairs here, but they're finding an opportunity at the same time, though they haven't fully cleared out the first floor. You're going to see Bosco try to move in and stop this plant attempt from Diaz, but no, he gets it off, and we're going to see as these players try to move forward, now the air job's preventing the immediate rotate. That's a big mistake, though, from XSET. Kino accidentally knocking out Diaz, evens our numbers back up again into a 3v3, and Bosco still causing havoc from upstairs on the first floor. He could potentially cause some major issues now. Spirit's nearly getting caught, but as well, another member of the XSET, or rather SSG roster, goes down trying to push themselves out into server here. Skies now going to go for the first counter defuse attempt. It's a very weak position, but he does have some hard play to lock him into this spot. He'll have to get off it for a moment as Yaga seems to have found some shots onto him. Someone needs to swing it here, though, and we're going to see Kino attempt to stop it, but he can't lock in the shots. It's another clutch from SSG, and they're just laughing their way to the bank about it.
They're already there, John. They don't need to go anywhere. Just cash out. You're at the bank. You're at the bank. I'm just messing with you. Anyways, what an insane round from SSG. I mean, the balls on this man to stick that
so
plant.
close.
So unbelievably close. He
A little sloppy in terms of the flank watch from XSET, but a very easy thing to correct and fix. Hopefully, will not be making that mistake again here on future clears, as that is going to definitely cause problems for them if it should be the case. Away from that, though, SSG now takes the lead at 4-3 as they get ready to go for another defense here on the inside of open area to truly lock in the lead at what could become a 5-3 scoreline.
This one's going to be pretty interesting. We have two panels currently missing from the kitchen space here, and they're never coming because what is that? Oh man, this is some SI strategy. I believe we saw, if I'm remembering this correctly, I believe that we saw Geo playing a very similar position inside of Janitor at SI for TSM. And this is honestly a fantastic place to be because you're really just annoying to everyone trying to occupy the top floor. They have to deal with all those reinforced walls. You have a hatch to leave. You can sit there with just all the utility in the world and be like, all right, how many things would you like to toss at me?
Just a big jack-in-the-box, basically.
Yes,
here.
really.
You never really know when he's going to pop out and try to shoot at you here. Rampy, at the same time, looks like he wants to try and maintain an upstairs position, but is very quickly forced away. 2 additional drones come in his direction. Can't really stick around and try to support Fultz for too much longer, for as little support that Fultz actually needs from this position here. As you were talking about, he's got reinforcements, he's got electrocuted walls. I think the wall behind him is electrocuted,
all 3 ADSs as well.
Yep, all 3 ADSs supporting him. The deployable shield, obviously. What more can he really ask for aside from another teammate to help him out?
I mean, I don't really know, John. Especially as a player like Fultz, I don't really know what the answer is past that. I mean, I guess $1 million or something, but I mean, they were pretty close to that when they ended up picking up that hammer in 2020. But now for SSG, looking to extend this lead. They've already dealt some pretty serious damage to Spirits, and it's going to continue as he takes yet another chunk out of his HP bar. XSET will continue to clear down towards the mid-level, and they actually have quite a few bodies to worry about, specifically Rampy as of right now, as he's poised to swing into E2 and deal with Gomez, who was just around the area moments ago. Instead, he's traversed back upstairs. He's currently looking for anything going on around the stock space.
This guy's not going to get the ping from the heartbeat sensor against Yaga, but he will see those skeleton key shots ring out and very quickly have to pocket that sensor to get the heck away from those openings there. A little bit too dangerous for him to stick around here. Fultz, of course, still being a factor upstairs in his own position, going to try to waste out some of the time, begin deploying some of the toxic babes. XSET don't really seem to mind his position too much right now, though. They're just kind of awkwardly sidestepping around it until they're forced to deal with it, which honestly might be one of the correct ways to try and approach this, because aside from the rotate downstairs, he doesn't really have anywhere to go, as well as his swing from out of the actual Janitor hallway here can only really be annoyance more than anything and a slight delay to the overall execute.
Well, with 30 seconds remaining, XSET have got to hightail it into sight, and it all starts with Kino. He'll take down Hot and Cold, but a great read here from Skies as well for the bottom of Square. They'll know that Kino's around the space as well as Gomez. It's up to Bosco to try and shut this down as stuns start to come in from Copier as well. All hands on deck for SSG, rather, and they'll be able to start off strong with 3 big kills. 4 versus 2 now, make it a 4 versus 1, and a 3 versus 1 as DS will pick up his own, but he has to get that case first. With 5 seconds remaining, he's got a lot of fights to take in order to do it. Skies will take him out with a pistol from Blue, and SSG will get yet another defensive round.
XSET flatlining on that round there. Nearly a flawless one coming in from SSG, as unfortunately the attacking strategy bears no fruit from XSET, and they just try to brute force their way into the site there. Got that one opening kill before they started the execute, but as they tried to work their way in, that upstairs position collapses upon them, and away from that, the utility from the defensive side has no problem clearing out that straightforward attack that XSET was forced to go for, as they had no additional time or even really a strategy to build up towards anything else there. Just a simplistic push mainly from Square side, and it is countered out by the strong positions from SSG. So they're going to shift themselves upstairs before potentially rotating back down into the basement hold again on what would be round number 10.
Some pretty strong showings here, especially from the not XSET members, but from the XOXG members. Kino and Yaga both showing up in massive dividends. 7-6 for Yog and 7-4 for Kino. Very impressive stuff for this new roster, but specifically these two members. Spirit's not as hot to trot, and neither is Gomez, but they've been able to strike true a couple of times at a minimum, and obviously their assistance has gotten them to this point. The big thing is now, though, is they really need to get this offense going.
Couple switches that you saw there. The most notable one is going to be Diaz bringing the Ying into play here for the attacking side, looking to stun out the resistance from SSG instead of brute forcing it through a normal attacker setup here. Plenty of soft breaks still being brought between Kino and Yaga, even Spirits adding a little bit to that degree. It's actually missing quite a bit of hard breach here. No can openers even being brought to the table, so it is going to be a potential problem for our attackers if they're looking to use Square. I would assume that's not going to be the case, considering the operator lineup they have, but let's pay closer attention to that now as XSET start to creep a bit closer to the building.
They're going to have to do something with Diaz here, because past that they have no other means to really enact anything upon SSG. I mean, they have some frag grenades, they have some stuns for burn, and they have concussions from Spirits. So you're looking to XSET to try and hit one of these sections of this top floor, but they need to hit it hard, because if they lose that engagement, I don't really know how much farther they're going to get inside of this round. And, well, in fact, Sean, I think this one's going to pop off pretty hard, because I'm getting a sense from Diaz. I don't know, but it seems as though people are going to start swinging things, and Yaga starts us off. He'll take down Foltz. They've already taken control of stock, as well as Diaz is looking to try and clamber his way into the main stairs. Spirits will be able to hold on to E3 for a time as Bosco's trying to man the conference door. Still plenty of time for XSET to get things done, but they found their mark early here.
Yeah, full outer hall control already gained for XSET, but there is some problems they have to deal with. A potential rotate up main stairs from Houghton, a swing out through janitor door from Skies. Bosco could also get aggressive from the double door outside of meeting room as well. So there's a lot of factors here that mainly Spirits is going to have to watch out for if he's looking to support the rest of the team. Mind you, again, there's no hard breach in the XSET setup right now, so they cannot work their way in through the square wall. They will have to look for another route, whether it's going to be brute forcing it in through the double doors to get into meeting or some other avenue here. XSET will need to find an alternative route, and they're running out of time to do it with a little over a minute remaining.
Dead silent across the map until Spirits pumps this concussion through the drone hole, but nobody seemingly aware of anybody's location. Kino, he'll take down Skies as he finally goes for the swing from Janitor, but it's ill-advised. Hot and Gold will traverse down the stairwell and try and see anyone inside of the elevator space, but SSG, what has just happened? Every XSET member is dead in literally 7 seconds. Everyone dies. SSG on match point.
Thank you, production, for the wide shot on the team here, because it is just great seeing the reactions from SSG right now.
Everyone's just laughing at Skies, man.
Especially Skies. He is not quitting here, as once again, SSG has moved up onto match point here. 6-3. A fantastic start to this series for XSET as they pick up the first 2 rounds, drop the third, immediately rebound as the 4th round becomes their own third. But since then, it's been all misses and a lot of missteps from the XSET roster that have cost them hugely. It is very much about to cost them the overall game.
Yes, indeed. I mean, that last round especially very unique, because you're really never going to have a round where you just simply don't have hard breach in that way. And it was just very, very awkward for them that ended up leading them into quite a few funnels. And it seems like, well, the people at home are thinking that the Gringos are going to get it.
And it's looking like you guys just might have been correct on that one by like that little 10% factor, barely squeaking out. I can see the support is strong for the XSET side, though. It's good to see that one, and we don't have a bunch of like just NA fans just like overloading the SSG vote there. So a close fight, and indeed, I am still curious to see what we will get out of this XSET roster, not only for the rest of this matchup, but the future as well, as they have brought a very fun game to the table, even though it's leading us into what's probably going to be a bit of an unfortunate end. I say that a bit early, of course. We still could see XSET rebound, but the past few rounds have not given at least me a lot of hope for it.
Yeah, not very convincing, at least inside of these last handful. But past that, the rounds that XSET did get, as well as just a few that SSG got. I mean, the clutches that we saw from SSG, that's almost a given when it comes to this team. You're going to expect a couple of those to seep through the cracks. But for XSET, I mean, all things considered, this team is looking a heck of a lot better than the last iteration.
Well, let's see once again here if XSET's going to be able to still build up a few more rounds before the ultimate end of this one, whether it'll be through overtime where they could still take the victory, or if it's going to be SSG coming back. Look at this rotate from SSG, by the way. You guys have probably caught it by now. Of course, XSET trying to throw a curveball at SSG by entering in through the garage, but they just rotated 2 players down through main stairs. They seem to be hyper aware of this, and that's on top of already catching the first kill against Diaz, once again knocking out the Ying before she can be truly useful.
Now Gomez with a great angle here inside of garage, and Toe with Spirits. Get a lot of different things going on here, and that's going to be one that they want back. Ramp, he's able to make it through the cross, taking a lot of damage, yes, but not dead. Way more important to the overall equation. Frag grenades in now, and not only that, but SSG know that there's garage presence. For XSET, this has gotten pretty risky. Smoke's out, but now it's smoke to the defense as well. As Spirits is taking so much damage, he'll try and transition into the bottom of main stairs as SSG attempt to hold on.
This is going to get scrappy from this point forward. Here's XSET trying to force their way through. They don't have the proper clears in order to negotiate this, so it's going to be all fragging capability that gets them the win if they're going to stay in the fight here now. 1-1 now, 2-1 in the favor of SSG here with Fultz and Hot and striking true for the defensive side of things. Spirits and Kino are the last two proponents of XSET remaining, trying to clutch this out and keep the team in the fight to win this matchup. Spirits with a good find as he's up to 2 for the overall round, but now we need to see Kino come alive also here with 3 players of SSG still standing tall and only 40 seconds left to play. XSET have taken a step back momentarily, but it's not going to be a quiet one. Kino knocks out Bosco. They're not done just yet. That last adrenal surge will be used to boost up these players. Fultz will be forced further back towards the locker's door due to the loss of his deployable shield. XSET, though, losing a little bit of that confidence now, proceeding very, very slowly. This is where this could get dangerous here. You see the yellow pinks coming out. Fultz is aware of the position of Kino, and he'll drop him along with the case. Just Spirits left now in the 1v2. It would end up being a 4K from him if he can clutch this out, but only 10 seconds remaining. He's walking into the crossfire, and Fultz, one pump from the shotgun will shut it down as SSG control their first game of the NAL season.
And what a bounce back from those first handful of rounds from SSG. They figured out the XSET puzzle, and they went all the way home with it. So they'll take their first match here in Stage 1.